Welcome to Strange Weekly News. In this show, we take a look into the news and headlines to pick out curious reports of the strange, the weird, and the mysterious. Anything from UFO news to science advancements, the paranormal, and stuff labeled fringe science and fringe phenomena. Each news item we go over in the show, I will place all the links to them in the description box below once this live show is over, as well as a chapter timeline index. Hello and welcome to all of my first-time viewers and listeners, and everyone who caught the live. Today is Friday, so you know what that means. It's going to be our gift card giveaway. The base price is $10. And if you want to make a super chat that says for the gift card, I will rack that up and do the drawing at the very end of the show. One person's going to walk away with a Starbucks and Amazon gift card. And the word of the day is candle. I'm going to start collecting those entries now, and I'm going to share my screen for everyone to place that in the live chat exactly as you see it on the screen. Hashtag candle. And then as soon as I see a few entries, we're going to get straight into the articles. And of course, we will be covering the NASA briefing first, because there has been more information that has been released since yesterday. So we're going to get into that. All right. I'm seeing candle here, but I'm not seeing the entries. Don't do this to me again. StreamYard giveaway. This is like the second week in a row that it hasn't been collecting. Hold on, everyone. We're going to make this right this time. So just give me a sec, and then we're going to get straight into it. Because this is unacceptable. There we go. All right. It is now collecting, it looks like. Let me pull that one up one more time for you, and then we can get straight into this. So everyone just re-put that in for me. And welcome to my amazing channel members. Thank you. And Nicholas for the gift card. Starting the day out strong. Thank you for that. Because one person is going to walk away very happy. Looking at 15 right there. Now, I don't see why it's only saying one entry. Like, this is not the best way to start a show, like already with glitches. And I don't know what to do. But we're gonna figure it out as we go along, everyone. But I don't want to keep you waiting on today's news. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and it'll still be collecting because I can't do two things at once. But I'm really upset about this. I even refreshed the page and it didn't work. All right. I'll keep you abreast on that. But let's get into our first article. I guess our first news point, because there's been a lot of articles about this NASA briefing, and they were all very lenient. They were all very kind to this briefing. And if you watched it with me yesterday, you saw the disappointment on my face. In my opinion, it wasn't a good briefing. There were a lot of aspects that were very disappointing. A lot of their answers were very condescending to the media outlets, have it be there in person or on the phone. And even the speeches that they gave were below par, in my opinion. And I gave a pretty brief commentary yesterday right after the hearing. But then once I rewatched it, there were a few other things that I caught that I'd like to share with you. And there's also been some more information that we're going to discuss as well. So the first thing and the biggest takeaway, and I said this yesterday, and I'm going to say it again for those that didn't watch it, was they were really emphasizing being transparent, making the information public. And Bill Nelson kept saying, "You can bet your boots." And I want that on a t-shirt. Like, that was awesome. But with these, constantly them saying transparency, removing the stigma, this, that, and the other, they wouldn't provide the new UAP research director. They wouldn't provide how much funding that they are getting or will receive later on. They kept saying that they need more data, they need more extensive data, they need more reliable data. And that was a big alarm for me, the word reliable. What does that mean to them? Right? Because, and I get it, reliable data is important, but everyone has their own definition of what reliable means. And they were saying, oh, we don't have enough data. We don't have enough reliable data. And I'm like, come on, NASA. I'm smelling something kind of funky here. And people aren't buying it. Also, you had a lot of body language where people, they felt The panel felt uncomfortable when it came to the conversations and questions about ET, and yet that's what the briefing was all about. They should have been mentally prepared, and it didn't seem like they were at all. They kept stuttering, there was a lot of hesitation, but in other aspects they were on the ball. They also mentioned about pilots and saying, oh, the needle in the haystack, but you need to understand what a haystack is. And that was really condescending and I would almost say insulting to pilots that have seen very strange things in the sky. Like we people that have to go on an airplane, or those that have to trust, the Air Force, for instance, right? Or those that just fly planes, you have to trust their judgment. And you have to trust that when they say they saw a weather balloon, you got to believe it, right? You don't have to, but you would think so because they've had so much flight time. They've taken so many courses, have done so much research because they had to in order to get their license, right? And so for them, especially David Spergel here, the guy right there, the little bald one, going in a roundabout way, stating that they don't believe what the pilots are seeing in the sky and classifying them as UFO, UAP. I was like, whoosh, a slap in the face. That wasn't cool. Now, I do also have some quotes that I'd like to share with you that were mentioned today, and I'm also going to change the image here. But another thing was they mentioned, oh, yeah, still report your sightings. And so I thought, okay, they're mentioning Arrow. I go to the Arrow website, and guess what? The reporting section still is coming soon. And the Arrow website just came online, I want to say, 2 weeks ago now. So it's still pretty fresh, but that should have been the very first thing that should have launched, was the reporting survey part of it. And it's still under construction. That does not fly with me, and I know it does not fly with a lot of other people. And then for them to also say, oh, yeah, report your sightings. To who then? To who? And then they also mentioned, oh, we don't want to be like Arrow. And I have the quote here. So let me read it to you, because Spergel summarized the study team's approach, emphasizing that they were not focusing on repeating the work of Arrow, the all domain anomaly resolution office, but instead applying scientific methodology toward how reports of UAP can be evaluated. Isn't that what Arrow is doing? Using science to kind of figure it out? I didn't understand that. Maybe someone can fill in the gaps for me here. Maybe I'm missing something. But I was thinking to myself, that's exactly what Arrow is doing. What is NASA doing differently here? So that was pretty odd. But if you read any articles, the majority of like your mainstream articles covering the NASA hearing, they were very kind. They were like, "Nah, everything is okay." They didn't mention ET like the public wanted, but it wasn't that bad. Obviously you didn't watch it the way I did and the way so many other people did. Reading the comments for the NASA briefing, a lot of them are brutal. I'm not even going to lie to you. Like, there's not even like maybe 5 out of 1,000 comments that are saying, "Yeah, it was actually pretty good." No, I did not see that. Maybe someone will write that at some point, but I didn't come across one. So then after they're giving out their speeches, talking to us like we're children, then they open the panel for questions. And I was like, okay, cool. We're going to see some really cool stuff. And guess who we saw first? We saw James Fox asking some really hard hitter questions. If you are in the community or watched any of his documentaries, I know that you were probably also like excited to see what he had to say. And here, and I'm going to read the question to you and the answer as well for those that didn't listen to the briefing. Do you have to? No. Is it worth your time? Not really. They did also release a PDF, and that link is in the description box from yesterday's video, the NASA briefing. If you do want to read that, it's going to be a lot faster than watching a 1-hour briefing by NASA of them saying absolutely nothing. But here's what James Fox said. He says, after a careful review, if it's determined that some, underlining the word some 10 times, UFOs or UAP originate from non-human intelligence, what's the plan to disclose that to the public? And then Bill Nelson, being sharp right off, like just real quick here, he says, let me repeat what I said. It's important that you hear this word for word. That is not a great way to start answering your question. And he continues. The NASA independent study team did not find any evidence that UAP have extraterrestrial origin, but we don't know what these UAP are. The mission of NASA is to find out the unknown. I've said several times in my comments here today that we at NASA deal openly and will be transparent on it, trying to address the question of there's so much concern that there's something locked up, classified, and the American government is not being open. Well, we are the American government and we are open, and we're going to be open about this. We don't know what these UAP are, but we're gonna try and find out. And then later he says, and you can bet your boots. That was the highlight of the entire briefing. I'll say it. I'll say it. But James asked an incredible question, and it's a very valid question. What's gonna be the protocol? And Nelson pushed him so far off the stage, it really seemed like. A lot of the other news outlets did ask some pretty good questions. Some would classify them as soft questions. I think in general, for these like mainstream outlets to even be asking questions is great. And you can find that timeline, like the timestamps, excuse me, in yesterday's show. If you kind of want to follow along on who asked what, I already put it in there for you. So it's super easy. But one thing that people were stressing about was, okay, who is this new director going to be? What's his name? This, that, and the other. And NASA was saying, no. We're not gonna disclose that, but we're super transparent, but we're not gonna disclose his name. The irony is very real. Well, a few hours after the briefing, they did release this person's name. Let's pull up his image. And that is him right here. And this is Mark McInerney, who became the U.S. Space Agency's director of UAP research. He's also a former meteorologist and liaison to the Pentagon. So NASA officials initially refuted to reveal his identity, kind of amid fears he would be harassed, before later backtracking on that decision. Because of course, after this briefing, they were getting hit hard across social media of them saying one thing and then doing another, right? Them saying that they're going to be transparent and then not being transparent at all. So after a few hours, and I'm assuming a big round table of PR and the panel, they said maybe we should disclose this at least this person's name and his very basic background. And they did that a few hours later. And it goes to show here, listen to this. It goes to show that people do have power and we forget that. But when all of us have a unified voice and say we want something, this is a great example. We got what we asked for with a lot of pressure. And I would also say probably harassment here too. But now we know who he is. So I think that's a plus for us, right? I think we did pretty good here. But hey, who am I, right? So there is a lot more information on that. I will place the link in the description box below for you to kind of read more into it if you like. But we're going to get into our next article, and we're still kind of on the conversation of James Fox. And I went ahead and I re-looked at our giveaway from StreamYard, and I still only have one entry in this. Hold on. We're going to refresh the page one last time. If it's not working, we're going to have to do it next week. I really don't want to, though. Okay. Let's try one last time. Put in hashtag candle for me, please. I just need at least just hand me one, and we'll see if it even takes the entries. Okay. Well, while I kind of look at that, and I'll pull it up here for you. So we can kind of watch it together to see if we get any entries at all. Choktawa, thank you so much. And John aside for the gift card, always starting it out strong as you do. Thank you so much. Working, training, but you get a like and a comment. Happy Friday, everyone. And Spectre, thank you. saying they don't have enough data, but they had enough data to say it's not ET. That is not scientific. The NASA report has pictures in it that show their position, weather balloons, lightning, and weather anomalies dismissive. You were able to definitely see that in the briefing yesterday. Again, you can watch it on this channel, see the pre-commentary and the post-commentary. But we're still not getting entries, and I don't know what to do. All right, we're going to postpone it. I know, I'm really sorry, for next week. So make sure to subscribe to the notification bell so you do not miss next week's strange news. Okay? I am like, my heart hurts. Getting into our next article here, talking about James Fox, because he was at the NASA briefing, but he also dropped some pretty interesting information a while ago. Let's pull this up. This is a picture that he posted on Twitter, on his Twitter. And so Fox shared a letter that he received from a first-hand UFO crash retrieval witness who said they have already begun the whistleblower process with the Inspector General, meaning there is going to be a new UFO whistleblower coming out to the public at some point. This is unbelievably huge. All right. So this confidential witness said in their letter that they might come forward as early as this year, which is only a few months left of this year. So Fox begins by referencing Grush's testimony to Congress, and he emphasizes that Grush spoke about these programs under oath based on testimony he received from people with firsthand knowledge. He then notes, there's an individual that is on the verge of going public, and I thought that your audience might like to hear from this, right? And this is from an interview that he gave not too long ago. And this is how the letter goes. It says here, hello, James. It's been a while since we collaborated on a public statement. As you know, I'm working to get private industry and Congress to collaborate on the UAP materials and biologics. Yes, both are part of the legacy program. I know we've had a few oddball comments from folks who haven't been in the program, but as someone with firsthand knowledge and knowing other firsthand experiencers, we have been asked to formalize our testimony to the same ICIG, the Intelligence Community Inspector General process that David Grush went through. Unlike David Grush, I personally have not experienced any attacks from the government nor DoD. My reason for coming forward is purely to provide factual information concerning the people, locations, private laboratories, and research facilities that exist around the world in an effort to help the investigative process. When the witness talks about not experiencing attacks from the government, they're referencing, of course, statements Grush had made under oath and in interviews about him and his family being attacked. Now, Grush has testified that he experienced serious reprisals from officials for coming forward, and he can't speak in detail about them yet because they are under an active investigation that he did mention during the UAP hearing July 26th. But then the letter continues. It's always my hope that the DoD, Pentagon, and the legacy program people are allowed to go out from under the heavy-handed weaponization of the exotic technologies they have. I believe there's a solid path for everyone to come forward without reprisal and to help mankind by making the non-classified aspects more transparent and available for the sectors of our societies that involve medicine, energy production, and the enlightenment of our collective mindset as human beings. I'm encouraged by all the hard work that many unsung heroes are doing behind the scenes as well as in the public domain. I will be coming forward when the time is right. I wish you and all those that you read this letter to all the blessings and goodwill they deserve. The truth is now being revealed, and I promise to continue doing my part. Really interesting letter here. And now we didn't James Fox didn't elaborate on the individual's identity. This person will at some point come forward. But this is a really great start. Now, is this because of Grush? Did Grush inspire others to come forward? Are people working behind the scenes to nudge these people that have information to come forward and classify themselves as whistleblowers? Is it a little bit of both? I don't know. I think James has a really great scoop here, and I think it's well deserved. Since the 90s, he's been creating documentaries, and he's gone through a lot of ridicule, and finally, right, the public is looking at him very seriously and with kind eyes and with kind comments. Also, look at this smile. It's the most charismatic smile I've ever seen. All right, like how can you be mean to someone like this? So this is great. Of course, we will all keep you up to date, him, myself, and everyone else that finds information on this. We want to know who this person is and what information they will provide, and hopefully it will elevate the conversation and continue to remove the stigma, which is what NASA was really pushing for yesterday, and I think failed in, in many regards. So I think that is super important. But I mentioned NASA, didn't I? Yeah, some of you keep up with what the James Webb Space Telescope finds. And this one I think is very cool. It's been a while since we've covered some space findings. So I'm going to pull this up. It's merely as a visual aid. By the way, if you are enjoying the articles that we're covering so far, please hit that like button. It lets me know that you're enjoying the show, and it tells the YouTube algorithm, hey, we want more conversations like this. So let's do that. Michael says, when the time is right, I wonder what has to happen to make the time right. This is an interesting question, and I think a lot of people will have different answers. Some will say, for instance, if it's opening up a business, right, that's the right time is always now. When it comes to someone such as a person that has to go through the whistleblower process, well, there's a process, right? And for everything to go as planned, it could take anywhere from a few months to maybe a few years. And then I think if everything goes well and this person isn't infringing on any NDAs, then maybe that's when the time is right. But it's going to differ from person to person and on the category as well, or the topic. But we don't really know. But James is saying it might be, he might come out by the end of the year, which is just in a few months. So I don't have my hopes up too high, but I have a little bit of expectation. I would lie, and if I said that I didn't, I have a little bit of expectation. All right, getting into this one, because a new investigation with NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, the K2-18b, an exoplanet 8.6 times as massive as Earth, has revealed the presence of carbon-bearing molecules, including methane and carbon dioxide. This is so exciting. But first, taking a sip of coffee. So Webb's discovery adds to recent studies suggesting that K2-18b could be an exoplanet, one which has the potential to possess a hydrogen-rich atmosphere and a water-ocean covered surface. The first insight into this atmospheric property of this habitable zone exoplanet came from observations with NASA's Hubble Space Telescope, which prompted further studies that have changed our understanding of the solar system. See, okay, I know people don't like NASA. It's not a straight answer. I get you. I hear you. The briefing gave a really great example of that. However, putting that aside, looking at the optimistic standpoint, which is the way I like to look at things 99% of the time, is they are getting these fundings by the government, by our tax dollars, to understand our universe, to understand even our solar system, so on and so forth, right? And then they're able to kind of drop that information to the public, and it allows this level of wonderment for humanity to have based off of these findings. And again, that's the optimistic standpoint of this. In this particular case, first of all, the James Webb Space Telescope is sexy. There is no other word to describe that telescope. It's a stunning beauty, and it has captured so many amazing images. Now, the sketchy part is that it took 6 months for it to kind of start taking pictures for the public to see. That part kind of weird. Aside from that, we are getting things like this. We are beginning to understand our universe more than ever, and we have to thank NASA for that. So the K2-18b orbits the cool dwarf star, the K2-18, in the habitable zone and lies 120 light years from Earth in the constellation Leo. Exoplanets such as K2-18b, which have sizes between those of Earth and Neptune, are unlike anything in our solar system. The lack of equivalent nearby planets means that these sub-Neptunes are poorly understood, and the nature of their atmospheres is a matter of active debate among astronomers. And this is what I love. We need to have healthy debate. If everyone agrees on the same thing, you are not going to grow, you're not going to ask good questions, you're not going to evolve. The reason to why humanity has come to this point today, 2023, with all of the tech that we have, is because of curiosity, because of us wanting to understand something that we don't, or to understand something bigger than ourselves. And in this case, it happens because of debate. So for astronomers to kind of bicker at one another, dude, I am all for that, but in a very professional manner. It's not, I'm right, you're wrong, and you're wrong because I say so. So that does not slide with me. And you can't, I don't like that. But if you say you're wrong because of XYZ, I'm listening. Okay, I'm invested and I am willing to learn. But if you just say, shame on you, you're wrong, delete, block, don't care, you're not going to get any of my attention here, because I don't agree with that. I think it's very condescending and wrong. But a debate, a casual one, a conversation, yes, 100% fully for it. So the suggestion that the sub-Neptune K2-18b could be a Hycean exoplanet is intriguing, as some astronomers believe that these worlds are promising environments to search for evidence for life on exoplanets. And that's really what we want to hear. We want to hear aliens. We want to hear ET. We want to hear biological life, even microbial life. You know what? I'll take it. That's fine. Do I want it? No. Yes, I want intelligent life, but microbial life, it's a start. But this is what we want. We don't want to hear, oh, there's 5,000 plus exoplanets that we've counted so far. Yeah, okay, that's interesting, sure, whatever. But we've found life on these planets. Yes. That's where you're going to get the funding, when you bring in the goods. And these are the goods right here. So what they're looking at biosignatures on this planet. They're not saying that there is plant life or intelligent life, but based off of the atmosphere, which have methane and carbon dioxide, it's alluding to the idea that there has to be at least some type of plant life there. And hey, that's a start. I'm ready for some space whales and space dolphins and maybe some jellies. Okay, great. Maybe it could be like Avatar. Don't know, but I would love to find out. I would take a trip there, easy, in a heartbeat. Would you? Whole side question. If you had to, if you were given the opportunity to go on a rocket, but only on a one-way trip to a planet that you think might have life on it, would you take up that opportunity? Yes or no? Tell me in the live chat. I'd probably say yes. You only live once, right? It's such a cliche thing, YOLO, from like 2012, but at the same time, yes, you really do only live once, with this understanding. Let's see. Andy's saying, yep. Neil's saying, I'll do it. I like the optimism. Yes. Michael says, way too old, stay at home. You know what? I also feel that on a pretty spiritual level. I do. Paul says, maybe. All right. Depending on what it else has to offer. I get you on that one. And there is more information on this as well, kind of what their findings are, what their assumptions are. And of course, as it goes with NASA, there needs to be more funding to find more answers. Sad part on that, but still very cool. And then we have this picture that looked cool. So you got like the methane here, and you got carbon dioxide. You got sulfide here as well. Super awesome. But now we're getting into the paranormal. I got a paranormal story for you. And this one, it takes place in Thailand. I'm going to pull up this image merely as a visual aid here. But this one's a pretty spooky story. So, a Thai woman in the central province of Samut Sakhon survived a near drowning incident in the Sanam Chai Canal and alleged afterwards that a ghost had compelled her to attempt suicide by leaping off a bridge. So, footage captured by a security camera at a restaurant along the canal revealed the incident at 11 a.m. earlier this week, and the woman was seen struggling to swim and almost drowned. Fortunately, a group of men rushed to her aid and successfully rescued her before transporting her to a hospital. Following the improvement of the victim's condition, her relatives decided to investigate the reason to why she jumped off the bridge. I mean, valid, right? Well, the woman's response stunned them, as she claimed that a mysterious man dressed entirely in white had forced her into leaping. According to her, according to the witness, right? The man waved at her while she was riding her motorbike, and she parked it to approach this person, turned out to be a ghost, before completely losing consciousness. The sole voice the woman could recall was the man uttering, "I want you to die. I want you to die." And the woman said that she was confused when she woke up in a hospital because she didn't have any health issues or any thoughts of suicide before. And she strongly believed that she was being manipulated by a ghost. After the story was reported to the public, another woman by the name of Unuma Thong stepped forward to share her spooky experience connecting to this event. And Unuma stated that she and her mother were traveling by car when they reached that same bridge, and she observed a man in white standing on the electricity pole at about 9:30 a.m. on the incident. As it was usual for people to stand in that manner, she was surprised and it was unusual for a person to stand in that manner. She was surprised and asked her mother if she noticed this man standing there the way that he was. And the mother denied seeing the ghost and decided to return to the bridge to investigate. She's like, "Hold up. How am I seeing this person and you're not? Let's park up the car and let's figure it out." But she didn't find anything. So, citizens in that area explain that the place used to be an isolated spot in the past, so some people came to the area to end their lives. And these locals also added that many children reportedly drowned in the canal, and several fatal boat accidents reported in that area as well. You can take this story, you can take it or leave it. It's one that is very, very bizarre. It's also one that we see in a lot of horror movies where you have a ghost manipulating people to take their own lives. Is that what this is? Is it merely a stunt, a publicity stunt, a tourist stunt? Or is it real? Do you want to find out? I guess that's the biggest question. Real or not? Would you want to go and figure it out for yourself? Some are going to say no, some are going to say yes, but people are so quick to say it's a hoax based off of just a mere story without them investigating it. So it's up for you to decide, but it is weird. Would I visit it? Heck yeah. Heck yeah, but with full-blown equipment, recording everything, and with the witness as well. Because it's these kinds of mysteries that spark this this interest, but it also gives us goosebumps and people enjoy that kind of thrill. That's why people like watching horror movies. They like those jump scares. They like the adrenaline rush. For myself, I like the more old-fashioned horror movies where it's not fully like blood and gore, right? And just kind of cheap jump scares. I like the ones that like really make you scared mentally. Those ones. Those ones are really good. And those are these ones like they're usually from like the 80s and 90s. Yeah, I dig those ones. What about okay. Here's another question for you. What is your all-time favorite scary/horror movie? I really like The Woman in Black. That one's really good, where it's starring Daniel Radcliffe. Of course, The Shining is another classic. Hellraiser, can't go wrong with that one. I mean, I'm naming you all the classics here, but they're not today's modern horror, today's modern scary, but they are more psychologically scary. And that's why I like those ones. Black, thank you for that. It says, maybe you have said it, but do you think the alien in Mexico, hold on, do you think of the aliens in Mexico in boxes? Did I read that right? Maybe you have said it before, but do you think of the aliens in Mexico in boxes? So I did a whole analysis on the hearing on Thursday, and we do go into detail on that. So do take a look at it, but thank you so much for that. And Texie, thank you as well for supporting the channel. Y'all are amazing. And if you're enjoying the show, hit that like button. Do it. Do it right now. Awesome. Fantastic. Rex says that his favorite movies are The Omen and Exorcist. Also classics. All right. Digging it. Solo says the original Predator. Yes. I wouldn't classify that as like scary or horror, but also yes, like it's a classic. It's a good one. Jeanette says The Exorcist. All right, we are seeing it. The Fourth Kind. That one's a good one. I do like that one. Let's see. All right. Moving on to our next article here, and this one's just kind of a pretty quick recap of the week when it comes to science. So this one's pretty fast. I think I'm literally going to label it on the timeline index like quick science news or something. So let's pull this one up. A nice image, because you know the drill. Gotta show our visual aids here. There it is. All right. Because this week in science news, well, really last week, this week, has seen black holes burping up stars, radioactive wild boars, and also some pretty weird things about coffee. So what about these burping black holes, as we're seeing right here in this image? Well, astronomers have discovered that much like humans, we are prone to be a little gaseous, right? And pushing these out after a pretty hearty meal, or if you eat a lot of lentils and vegetables. And black holes emit a large amount of stellar remains years after devouring stars, and it could also be affecting up to 50% of them. Did you know that about black holes? I love black holes. Would I like to go in one? I don't think so. But just like the information about black holes, it's always super cool. And we've very briefly heard about them kind of burping up stars, but this is relatively new-ish kind of information. But there is more. Looking at this guy right here, because these wild boars are radioactive and people don't really know why, which, hey, you know what? We gotta do research on that, because that is pretty weird. There were a few articles last week that talked about it, saying how whack that is. So be careful what you eat. I would say that, to say the least. But it is very cool. And then in health news, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued a warning after 5 people were killed by flesh-eating bacteria. Yeah, pretty spooky there. But as I said, super short. Not going to go into detail on that one. But we are going to go into detail on this next one. Because right now, being the first to go to space, it's like it's the new cool thing. And people want to be the coolest. They want to be number one. And they're going to do what it takes, have it be a publicity stunt or doing something that maybe they shouldn't, in order to be number one. Yeah, let's pull up this image here. Okay, here it is. Because a recent mission from the American spaceflight company Virgin Galactic is facing public backlash after it carried the remains of 2 extinct hominins into space. Okay, before I even continue, do you think that's a good idea? Do you think it's okay, not a big deal? Or do you think, whoa, this is an issue? because it's up to you. But let's continue on with this article because people are pretty opinionated here. Because the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, South Africa, is custodian of the fossils, and its researchers are celebrating the event as a historic first and a tribute to science and discovery. So bringing and human bones into space is a science. It's a tribute to science and discovery. In what ways? Just like, give me a few examples. If you're willing to tell me X, Y, and Z, all right, I could potentially buy it. But just saying, yeah, we brought fossils into space because science. What are you studying? Science is all about studying, collecting data, right? Let's continue. Many experts online, however, have condemned the trip as a reckless and disrespectful publicity stunt with no scientific value. And so far, with no data being collected, yeah, I can see that. Can you? On September 8th, 2023, the South African-born billionaire Timothy Nash tucked a carbon fiber vial into the pocket of his cargo pants before boarding Virgin Galactic's rocket-powered craft. Here is that image. The VSS Unity, bound for suborbital space. So inside the container was a 2-million-year-old collarbone and a 300,000-year-old thumb bone, both of which were from hominins. And they were about to go where none of their kind had gone before. Space. All right, that's cool. But they're incredibly old. I doubt they care, right? It says here, these fossils represent individuals who lived and died hundreds of thousands of years ago, yet we're individuals who likely gazed up at the stars in wonder, much as we do. That's what I wanted to do. And this was said by Matthew Banger, who discovered the remains of one of these hominins and who handed the bones to Nash in a ceremony before the flight. It says here, I imagine they could have never dreamed while alive of taking such an incredible journey as ambassadors of all of humankind's ancestors. But when this was published online, scientists were saying, this is not really great. Some stating that this human advancements, there are potential consequences to this, but they didn't really explain what the consequences are. I'm also not sure, other than public backlash. But again, I want to understand XYZ. If you're gonna present a point, tell me why. Why are there consequences? Why was it a good idea? Why was it a bad idea? You can't just say it's a bad idea or it's a good idea. Tell us why. And a lot of people, a lot of other scientists online were saying this is just, it's disrespectful. There's no science behind it. It's all about publicity. And in today's world, that's what it's all about. It's so sad to say, but that's what it's about. It's about how the public will react, how much money you can make off of something as crazy as this. But is it really crazy? Or is it just not a big deal? A few launches ago, Artemis, I think it was Artemis, maybe I'm wrong here, but there was a rocket a while ago that launched Legos and Snoopy and plant seeds. Can that not be the same as these relics? I don't know, but hopefully you can kind of understand the perspective that I'm coming from here. What makes it a good idea? What makes it a bad idea? Who's deciding what here? You see what I'm saying? Please answer my questions if you know the answers to them. Have it be in the live chat, have it be in the comments. I do try to read all of the comments. And if you have answers, I want to hear them, because your opinions and your insights are very, very valuable to me and to everyone else that reads your comments as well. But let's see. Let's see what you have to say. Howie says, look funny, if space is where these people come from, we'll never know. That would be rather interesting if that were the case. Moo says, it's strange for sure. Maybe sending your ashes into space will become a new thing. It probably will. Yeah, I can see that. And I would say like in 20 years. Okay, and there's more on that. That link will be below. Getting into our next article. You know what? I'm going to skip that one. We're going to get into this one because now we're getting into the weird here. And this image, low key, reminds me of Dune. So I might give you a hint. Let's pull this picture up. Here it is. Because something rather monstrous. Wow, my words today, they are not coming out as good as usual. But here we're looking at a monster. This is a nematode known as the Allodiplagaster sudhasi. And when reduced to snacking on boring old fungus, this little guy, this nematode, this round worm, opens its mouth up real wide, and it will eat its own family members. Yeah, getting into the spooky season for real right here. So this new form has been named the Teratostomatus morph, with teras being an ancient Greek word for monster, and two other malformations have been previously described in this type of worm, making this shape shift number 3, which is pretty wild. Gotta take a deep breath. See, when I don't breathe in a lot of oxygen, or when I get super excited or any kind of extreme emotions, that's when I have issues speaking properly and reading properly. And then my stutter gets really bad. For those that don't know, I grew up with a stutter and with a speech impediment. And these shows have helped a lot, but sometimes it affects me more than other days. And it seems like today is just one of those days. But you just got to power through it. And I got a lot of ridicule when I was younger for having a stutter, because people just assume, oh, because you have a stutter or a speech impediment, it means that you're not smart. And that's not the case. It has to do with breathing properly and levels of extreme emotions here. So thank you for bearing with me. So the team behind the research, from the Max Planck Institute for Developmental Biology in Germany, Indiana University in the US, and the Forestry and Forest Products Research Institute in Japan, think the huge mouth could be a reaction to stress. So not only do people feel stress, worms, wormies, nematodes also feel stress. We are aware that animals feel stress too, like dogs and cats and all of our fun furry pets. They feel stress, and so can worms. The more you know here. I did not know that. So other nematodes have been shown to develop mouths and eat each other when given certain diets, which prompted the study into these nematodes to get a closer look at this fascinating and slightly scary process. Here's another image of inside of the mouth, and I'm really happy that these are super duper small, because I would not want to meet one of these casually anywhere. I would probably pee myself. And just look at these. It gives me Dune vibes, kind of meshed with tardigrades. There's a little bit of both here, but they are pretty spooky looking. And these round things look like eyeballs. Could you imagine a bunch of eyeballs out of the mouth just coming for you? No, thank you. That's a horror movie right there. You don't need to watch Halloween or Friday the 13th or Freddy Krueger. No, just look at this, and that is enough for you. So this is a new thing that they're beginning to find based on the diet. Allows them to eat their own, which cannibalism is never a good thing, no matter what species you are. But it is I wouldn't say it's prevalent in the animal kingdom, but we've seen a lot of different species do stuff similar to this, where they either eat their young, they eat their husbands, or they eat their family members, depending on the situation or depending on if that's just instinct, right? Like, praying mantises, spiders, like black widows, right? Yeah, you don't want to deal with those. However, we are getting into the more funny content here. I'm not even going to read you the title. I'm just going to get straight into this one because this one is very funny and black. Thank you. What do you think of Mexico having images of alien bodies and caskets? Please and thank you. Okay, what do I think about it? Pictures are not enough. While pictures are great, it's a really great start. It's the same thing when people take a picture of something strange in the sky, like what we would classify as a UFO. A picture isn't enough. You need a lot more. You need, for instance, if you can get a video, great. If you can get witness testimony, amazing. In this case, for this hearing, because people are very polarized here, those that are saying it's 100% real and the other half saying it's total hoax. I don't know. I do not have the answers. There were presentations. It was mentioned under oath. They said, if you want to do research, you can. We have all the data that we've collected, and it's up to you to decide on what you think. I think that was something positive, is saying it's not yes or no. It's here's the data, make up your own mind. And that's the best approach to take. And that's what they did at the hearing. But the bodies are bizarre. You can find the data on, I think it's called thealienproject.com. I linked that in the video on Thursday. You can find it. You can look more into it. And there is the data. There is the type of metal alloys that have been found in those alien bodies as well. But I would say it's a lot of work for it being a hoax. But it does, in some respects, ring similar to the Roswell autopsy that was aired by Fox News back in 1995. Right? People believed it. They found out later that it wasn't real. Some still think it is real. I don't have the answers. I don't know if it is or isn't. But this is it's following a type of similar format as this, but the media is more focused on this NASA briefing than the Mexican hearing and all that other fun stuff, which, by the way, no one was covering the Mexican UFO hearing until the alien bodies came out. And then everyone's focusing just on the alien bodies and not the other aspects of the hearing, like very credible people coming forward and telling their stories. That was the biggest takeaway from that. Yes, alien bodies. Yeah, amazing, sure. But the people that were there, the international panel, they had a lot to say, and they're not getting the attention or the seriousness that they deserve. So I think that is a little bit sad, and it's sad from the mainstream media. But what do? Well, they write news to make money. That's what it's all about. It's the hype. It's the really sensational headlines. It's not actually about the information. So hopefully that kind of answers your question here. And Terry, thank you for that, for all your hard work. You're amazing. Thank you. Did I miss one? Oh, bad. Thank you. Do you think aliens could be AI in disguise? Well, there are those that think that gray aliens, people that have encountered the grays, are AI, like mixed with like it's AI and biological. It's a little bit of both, right? Could that be the case? I don't see why not. The sky's the limit here. There are so many possibilities. And while that might sound like a cop-out answer, when we are very narrow-minded and have tunnel vision, we're not going to look at all the other possibilities. But when we place everything on the table, that's when we can conduct the best research, is when we're open-minded versus having confirmation bias, which all of us have. But if we can acknowledge our confirmation bias, we can attempt to nullify it to the best of our ability. Getting into this next one, I'm going to share my image here. This one, I laughed at this article. Like, it's funny, but it wasn't funny for a particular couple. Let's pull this up. There it is. Okay. So picture yourself walking into a dark room, turning on the lights, only to see corpses all over the floor. What would you do? Well, upon spotting multiple unmoving bodies in a candlelit cafe with an eerie character sitting in the middle of them, a British couple called the police. They said, "Hey, policemen, come on over. There is a murder ritual going on right here." So officers quickly arrived at the scene to inspect the reported ritual mass murder. And then when the cops burst into the building, they didn't stop some deranged cultist from summoning something unspeakable into a reality. Instead, they rudely interrupted a yoga class. So, so the cops walked in during the relaxation phase of yoga teacher Millie Law's class, and her 7 students were indeed lying about motionless, but they weren't dead. They were just embracing the nice yoga stretches. So just imagine, okay, you're casually walking down the street, walking your dog, or having a nice walk with your partner, right? You look into a building that has that has these really big windows. You look in, you see 1 or 2 candles out, and you just see a bunch of bodies, none of them moving. Would you call the police and saying, "Oh my gosh, the world's getting crazy," or would you just mind your own business and just keep on going? Uh, well, it was just merely a yoga class, but in a very dimly lit cafe, and they're all just stretching for a few minutes in one position without moving. I shed a tear reading this article. I found it way too funny. But if you were in the same predicament, what would you do? Would you call authorities or would you mind your own business? I don't know what I would do here. It's weird. And Dami says the new craze. We live in such a strange time. That would be my mentality if I were to see something like this. Like I don't know what I would do. Ah. Oh, by the way, I know people are putting in a candle, but we're not doing the giveaway because it wasn't working. We'll have to do it next week. So everyone that donated, we will just rack it up for next week. We'll push it for next strange news. So I do want to say sorry about that it's not working, but we're gonna have to figure it out again. This is not the first time this has happened. It's not the second time. It's not the third. It's like the 5th or 6th, and it happens at like random weeks. We've done 70 strange news, and we've done like 50 or so giveaways, maybe a little bit less than that. And we've had a handful of issues. Yeah. So here with this, that's like the best picture I could find that wasn't going to give away the story too much. But the yoga instructor, she laughed it off. After the police came and she explained to the policeman what was going on, she was like, I can totally understand this couple's perspective. Like, it was totally fine that they called the police. It wasn't a big deal because this is not some type of cultist group. It's just people doing yoga, which is good for you. Good to stretch it out, even breathing yoga, just taking in some deep breaths. Super important. I need to do those more often so I don't stutter as much. But it also helps you relax as well. Removes anxiety, a little bit of depression. Breathing is so good for you. And that's what they were doing here. And a little bit more, all the stretching and stuff. But this one got me good. But I got one final article for you. One more, also pretty funny here. I'm going to share an image because why was this one funny? Why am I sharing this with you? One of my all-time favorite TV shows is SpongeBob, and only the first 3 seasons. And with SpongeBob, one of his traits is that he can never pass his driver's license test. So Mrs. Puff absolutely hates SpongeBob because really he's just a thorn in her side. He can't pass. This story is very similar to that, and it really hit home with me. So a man living in Belgium became so frustrated when constantly failing the theoretical part of the driving test that he had to pay a lookalike to take the test in his place. Now with SpongeBob, it's vice versa. Great at writing, not so great at driving. So Serge had been struggling to pass his driving license exam for over a year, failing 12 exams. And very specifically the theoretical part of these exams, which we don't see in the States. You get like a very simple, is it A, B, C, or D test, and then you have the driving test, right? In other parts of the country, other parts of the world, excuse me, you have different types of tests, and other countries have it tough. Like, they are not easy exams. Belgium seems to be like one of those countries. So, and you know what? If you live in a different country aside from the United States, tell me, was it easy or hard to receive a driver's license? I'd like to know. And then also the country that you're from. And tell me, was it easy? Hard? A little bit in between? Because the US, we have it real easy. And that's why we have so many crazy drivers on the road. So he goes ahead and he finds a lookalike and he says, hey, you already have your license. I don't have my license. I can pass the driving part. I can't pass the written part. Can you go ahead and do it for me? I'll pay you money. The guy's like, yep, sure, no problem. So you have Serge, the guy who can't pass, and Julian, the lookalike. And you would think that everything would go a-okay. Everything would go as planned. They look super similar. But when Julian, the cop, the lookalike, passes in Serge's ID to like the DMV, which is not, that's not how it's called in Belgium. That's how I'm going to call it. Passes the ID. The person on the other side of the counter looks at the ID, looks at Julian. He's like, you know, I'm not seeing the similarity here. Are you sure this is you? Are you sure? And they got caught. Yeah, it did not go smoothly. And Serge doesn't have his driver's license, and Julian might get his revoked. Yeah. So, point being, don't go into these kinds of schemes. No matter how much someone pays you, it's not worth it. Because if you get caught, there are consequences here. So they both lost. And now they have to go through court, see what the consequences are going to be, if they're going to spend time in prison, if they're going to have to pay a fine, all of that fun stuff. And I just found that very funny because it reminds me of SpongeBob on so many different levels. Tyler says, I can just imagine the driver instructor's sussed face, looking at the ID, looking at the person and saying, I am not seeing the full-on resemblance here. Yeah, I can see that as well. That's too funny. Hyde says, I flirted with my driving test instructor and I passed. I'll tell you a fun fact. I failed my first one, and here was the reason why. I did not wait 3 seconds at the stop sign. I waited 2, and that was enough to fail me. So that was pretty heartbreaking. But I passed the second one when I was about 16, so that's great. And now I drive all the time. So driving tests are pretty easy in the States, even though I failed the first one. But it's not easy in other countries. I have heard stories of others like constantly failing their tests, especially foreigners going into another country that don't really know the rules as well or like the tricks. They struggle, and so they need to take multiple tests. But what about you? Tell me. Oh, Christian says, from Sweden, easy, but we take lessons for a while before both driving and theory. Now I believe it is 60 questions on the exam. 60 questions. Dude, I think in the States, and it's been a few years, but I'm going to guess it's like 25. Pretty easy to pass. Ooh, John says, I failed my first test because I couldn't parallel park. Parallel parking is hard. Now, if you live in any part of Europe, it's required. Like, there is no straight parking like in the States. I cannot stand parallel parking, but I do it when I absolutely have to, and it takes a handful of tries every time. There has not been one time in my entire life where it's been like a super smooth park in between two cars. Of course, when you do like those like little drive-ins when there's no one parked on either side, oh, I love those days. But when you have two other cars, you gotta make it in the middle. I cry on the inside every single time. But that is it for our articles today. Out of all the ones that we covered, which one was your favorite? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know in the comments as well. I do try to read all of the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed any of the articles that we covered today. Please subscribe as well, as we do 3 shows a week right here on this channel, all of which are live. Follow me on Twitter at eyes_on_the_skies for all of my updates and news. Also, take a look at my Instagram at Strange Paradigms for pictures and short videos. But if you want to continue this conversation, bring it over to the Discord server. Share your thoughts, your insights, your experiences, and more. I know one of my amazing mods is going to share that link in the live chat. Matt, thank you for that. Because this stream just got me through another edit for work. Nice. Keep up the great work. You know what? I am so that makes me happy. Like, these shows are here to make you curious, to help you have fun, but also to inspire you. There are so many weird things happening on our planet and in our universe that we should discuss. And it takes our minds off of our 9 to 5 job, paying the bills, paying taxes, having adult responsibilities. And so it makes me very happy to hear that so many of you are enjoying these topics and these shows that we do right here every single week, because that's what it's all about. It's about having fun here. I wouldn't change it for the world. So thank you. Hyde says 500 likes. Heck yeah. Super awesome. Also, next week we're doing 3 shows. Tuesday is Tales of the Strange and Unexplained. Thursday is Mysteries with the History. And then Friday will be another strange news. And we're going to have to do that drawing all over again next week. I wrote it down, so we're going to add that up to next week's drawing. So make sure, I'm telling you, subscribe and hit the notification bell. That tells for all notifications that you do not miss any of the shows that we cover right here. But that is it for today. I will see you later. Be safe. And remember, keep your eyes on the skies.